What's up, gang? Getting ready to dig into some of these questions we got from Facebook for the grind life. So get ready to hit some of these questions. Sit back, relax. Hopefully you enjoy the flow in the advice.
All right, so both Ryan Lucido and Jordan Powell had questions about earlier on in your career. Ryan wanted to know what were your goals and aspirations at that time, and maybe what were some things that you may have done wrong and needed to correct. And we'll follow up with Jordan's questions once you touch on that.
All right, so my first year was kind of simple. My focus was just on being coachable and winning. So I had no idea what the heck I was even really doing, when I started. What I did know is that I went with my gut and with my heart. And when I did my first interview, I fell in love with the company and the person that was interviewing me. My spirit did. And so, a lot of times when we make decisions based off of like paper, it doesn't always work. But usually when you go with your heart and your gut, more often than not, you're going to be right. So I lucked out in this case. I just kind of went with my heart and my gut. And I started out, and it's the only thing I've ever done, in my life, really, for 12 years, the main thing that I've done. And so the only things I focused on was, number one, being coachable 100% of the time. So I just listened and implemented every single thing to the T. And I think I did that better than anybody else. I don't really like to give myself credit for a lot, but I will take credit for being the most coachable person around me my first year when I started. I don't think anybody was more coachable than me around me. I think I didn't question anything that Marcus, my leader, said. I just implemented 100% of the things that he told me to do, and that kind of simplified the process. And then the second thing is I focused on winning. Competing. I wanted to be the best. So I didn't even care about, the numbers, or I just was focused on winning. What did I have to beat that person at that position that I was in? So if I was playing sports, if I was a defensive back, how do I be the best defensive back? What do I got to do to beat everybody out? And so I tried to find ways at every level to just be number one. And that's what I ended up doing. By competing and winning, everything that I wanted kind of was tied to that. And so that's been my experience in life. If you can stay coachable and then you just compete, that you try to win, everything that you want will come along with winning, as long as you're winning the right way. What I did find is that if you try to win the wrong way, if you're too cutthroat to people and you're negative to people and trying to stab people in order to do it, but if you could kind of fight fair within the rules with the right heart and just want to win, then typically everything you want will follow that.
All right, so Ryan Ohm asked, you talk a lot about success leaving clues. Do you think success can have a pattern?
I do. I think success definitely has some patterns and normal traits that I've witnessed and seen from sports to business to different walks of life. A lot of these things have very similar steps or traits, and so I could touch on this, but I feel like it would take me a half hour to really go into detail. So my real suggestion would be to go to the 6 steps webinar that I did. It's free. Go check out the 6 steps on becoming a millionaire webinar that I did for free, and that pretty much breaks down that answer. But in short, I would say off the top of my head, it's outworking everybody. So finding a way to look around you and say, am I the hardest working person in the room? I think that's one that kind of goes along with success, is hard work. Second thing is the company that you keep. Look around and audit your circle. Audit the people that you're spending the most time with. Are you finding a way to spend the time and train with or be with the best possible people in your life? Are you with people that are kind of not going to help take you to the next level, or even worse, are kind of pulling you in the wrong direction? So it's the circle and the people that you start to allow to influence you and spend time around. The next thing is increasing in learning, knowledge and implementation of that knowledge. And so a lot of the most successful people, they learn to be a lifelong learner. You're either growing or dying. And so some of the most successful people, it's like like they never really feel like they've arrived. They're always striving to learn and know more. And then, you know, I think that the people that really make it long term are of good character. You know, there's always some outliers there, but you know, it's very, sometimes your talent can take you to a place that your character can't keep you. And that's, so you have to work on, you know, that's why I focus so much with you guys on mind, body, and spirit, because sometimes the most talented people just have to get some of these things down, because, you know, John Maxwell says you can't make it to the top on accident, but you could fall off on accident. And so those are just some small stuff. As I'm thinking here, I'm like, man, I could go on and on and on and on, because I think there's so many, success does leave clues in traits. And so I just would look at some of the people that you admire and kind of find the traits that they have and the things that they do, and you know, study and research. Somebody asked me a question the other day, and I'm like, look, just find somebody in that business. I'm not in that business. Find one or two people in that and do everything that they tell you to do, and watch what they do and do everything that they do, and you're probably going to get similar results. But to really do this question justice, I would be here a long time. So my suggestion would be go to those 6 steps. So I'm reading it right off here. Jordan Powell, his question, hi Simon, I have a lot I would like to know. I got a lot I'd like to give you. There's a lot I'd like to tell you, Jordan. Was wondering if you could talk about mindset, grind set, how to get activity up in our industry. I mean, it's real simple. In our industry, typically, a lot of the times we get leads. Other companies don't get leads. We get leads for free. Most people are flabbergasted by that. And they'll have a name, phone number, and address. Go to their house, show up, door knock, introduce yourself. I think people are afraid of doing that a lot. It's like, it's 2018. If people don't answer the phone, it's like, well, if they don't answer, you know, it's like, I'll go there and introduce myself is how you get the activity up, politely introducing yourself more than somebody else. I mean, I think that's how we simplify it. And then how to find a why, and then what your first year numbers were. So, I mean, my first year numbers, it depends, because I moved up the ladder, but I could tell you I was an RGA in my 12th month. I was an MGA, might have been an RGA by my 10th month. I was an MGA 7.5 months into the deal. I think I did a couple million in production, maybe my first year. I know I made $187,000 at 22, I turned 23. How to find a why. I think you got to start asking yourself these questions. Ask yourself, what do you want out of life? You know, write it down on paper. I don't think it's enough to just think about it. You have to brainstorm things and write them out. Get in a quiet place and ask yourself, in a perfect world, what would life be like for you? And I think people are afraid to think big. They don't think big enough. So like, just erase everything. What does life look like for you in a perfect world 5 years from today? What would you want your kids to have, your wife to have, your husband to have, your in-laws to have, your parents, your grandparents? What does life look like for you? What do you want 5 years, 10 years from today? What does life look like for you? And then start to ask, why does it look like? Why is that important to you? And then write that down. Then why? Keep digging back layers. You know, ask yourself why 5 to 7 times once you've figured out what you want. Ask yourself why. Keep writing the answers 5 to 7 times, and that'll kind of peel back the layers of what you're looking to do. So okay, so that answered that. And then curious to your success in general. How do you train yourself mentally to not let the naysayers and negativity get a hold of you? And so, now keep in mind, I would like to know about when you first started off on your journey more than versus now, after it seems like you found the balance. Actually, I think the negative naysayers came more with the success than they did in the beginning. But, you know, so in the beginning, the naysayers were my, you know, close friends, young friends, where I was grinding, working a lot of hours, and they were like at happy hour at 5 o'clock. And then some family members, you know, that didn't understand it, and they were used to steady paychecks, steady hours, and didn't know what the heck what I was doing. This is the biggest piece of advice I can give you. Try never to take advice from somebody that you wouldn't want to trade places with. and I don't mean trade places with somebody like you don't like being yourself. You have to love yourself. I wouldn't rather be anybody but me. I wouldn't rather you, Jordan, be anybody but you. I get all that. But I mean, who would you like to be like? You know, if it was you and your family and you could be yourself, what situation would you like? Only ask those people questions and only listen to those people. Don't listen to everybody else. And so that's how you do it, is you have to check the person's resume. A lot of times people listen to people that are not qualified to give that person advice. So it's like, I'm not listening to the weather lady on the news talk to me about basketball or football. You know what I'm saying? That's not what they're qualified to do. I'm not listening to my personal trainer in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tell me how to have a better marriage, because they're not married, you know, in that situation. Or, you know, maybe I have somebody that has 30 years of marriage advice that's also been in business too, gives me marriage advice. And so I think the first thing is pick who you're going to listen to intentionally, and you have to block your ears off to everybody else. You have to just not listen. Like, I'm not gonna listen to somebody give me physical fitness advice if I look at them and they're out of shape and I don't want that body. Like, why would I listen to the person that's out of shape just because it's my dad or my uncle or my brother? Everybody got an opinion, especially people that love you. They're gonna try to give you, you know, the opinion, you know, that they have, but they might not be qualified. And a lot of their opinions are based off of stopping you from like hurting and going through like any toughness or pain. And unfortunately in life, the success, the highest levels of success come with a little bit of pain. And so these people are just trying to keep you away from like, I don't want you to have to go through any pain. And then you live a life of average. And so I think that you need to find one or two people that you would like to get advice from and just block out. You don't have to be disrespectful. They don't need to know you're not listening, but just kind of block everybody else off and listen to people that are where you would want to be. And then the negativity is going to keep coming, and naysayers, or you ain't nothing, until people start really trying to hate on you. You know, when you get successful, that's when really, really, really people are going to start hating on you. I think Lil Wayne said, you ain't great until somebody tries to assassinate. And I'm feeling like MLK. The more success you have, the more haters you're going to have. You got to embrace that. I would tell you congratulations when you start to get some haters. That means you're moving in the right direction. So, Jordan, thanks, man.